highlighted.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Margaret Fago, president of the Frank Bette Center for the Arts, and we welcome you to our monthly artist demo series. This is our third one we've done so far, and we're getting pretty excited about it. If you're on my list, I keep sending out invites each time, anyone who's asked for it in the past. So, and then we put it in our newsletter and on our website. So keep an eye on our website under special events to find out what the next one's going to be. I don't think we've got the artist pinned down yet, but tonight we have Mandar Wagholikar. I can't pronounce your last name, Mandar. So anyway, you can take me off, Roz, and you can talk now.
Okay, let me try and do that. Oh, whoops. It turned. We can see.
Hey guys,
you.
Can you see me?
We can, very well.
Well, it's great to be here, and I've worked with Frank Bette before, and it's a really amazing group of people. So I'm glad to be back doing a demonstration for Frank Bette's community. And they've always been so supportive of the artist, local artist in Alameda. So I thank them for this opportunity to do the demonstration in soft pastels. I have done workshops at Frank Bette, and I also do online workshops through my studio on Zoom. And I teach soft pastels as well as acrylic, and also mixed media using acrylic and oil pastels. And art has always been a lifelong pursuit of mine. And I got back into it a few years back, and I just am enjoying it. And for me, art is really a medium of having fun with what I'm doing. And it's not so much goal-oriented as the rest of the mundane activities of doing a job or, taking care of things around the house. But this is one thing which is more of a meditative activity for me. It's like walking by the bay, and it's kind of very relaxing. And I find that, regular practicing of art is a lot of fun. And I am more of a colorist, so I like to experiment with colors. And that itself is it's so much fun. And it teaches so much through all the fun accidents that happen when you're working with color. So hopefully I will be able to demonstrate some of the stuff that I do. So today's medium, as everybody knows, is soft pastels. So what I plan to do is to do a painting of Rodeo Beach, San Francisco. I don't know if you've been there, most likely you have. It's an amazing place. And I had done a painting of Rodeo Beach in an afternoon kind of a scene. But this time I'm kind of doing something more of a twilight evening scene. And I want to capture that fun atmospheric effects that happen in the evening. So hopefully we can do that. So I'm going to turn my camera to my easel, and then I will talk about what I'm doing as I go. But Margaret, Roz, and everybody, I like interaction during the class. So even though the lines are mute, feel free to send any question that comes to your mind. And I would love to chat with you and have an interaction with you during this demonstration, because that's what makes it so much more fun. So please don't hang back, because that's the best way to learn about a new medium if you haven't done it before. And even just to know my practice or my process, I would encourage you to ask me questions as we go. So now tell me if you can see my easel.
Yes, we can see it very well.
Okay, great. So I will be, if you see an interruption or my video goes off, just call me out. And Roz, if you have any questions coming through, feel free to ask them as we go, and I would love to answer them as I work on it. Okay.
Okay, certainly
so
will.
We'll have fun with it and just gonna relax. That's the main purpose of today's demonstration, is to relax. So I have my laptop sitting right next to my easel. It doesn't show all the colors the way it should, because it's not a clear view for you. But in the chat of this Zoom meeting, I put an image. Hopefully you can download it. If you want to see the image closely, up close, you can you can do that, and maybe it gives you more resolution and more color. Okay, so this is how I start. I think of composition in any painting. So what I do is I divide my paper into 3 parts, horizontal, and 3 parts vertical. Okay, and now I am using a pastel pencil, but I might as well just start with pastel. So it's kind of, everything we will do today is kind of a one way to do it. It's not something that's a clear rule. You can bend all the rules when you're working with pastels. Today I'm using an 11 by 14 piece of paper. This is a sanded piece of paper, and that's what you need when you're working with soft pastels, is you want something that's a sanded paper specifically made for pastels. Okay, so that's important thing. And if you want to see the pastels that I have, I'm going to just turn my camera down so you can see my setup. Do you guys see it?
Yes.
It's a lot of mess, but that's because I'm a little lazy and I haven't cleaned it, but that will not cause any interruptions in our process today. But that's my setup. It's a big table. So now I'm going to start kind of doing a sketch that's going to work. Okay, so even though I'm looking at my laptop, I am going to create a composition that's going to work best for us. And I like to have the objects of interest at the thirds of the scene rather than in the middle of the screen. The whole thing about composition, creating a composition, is to have something that's a little off center, off balance, creating a little drama, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to start by creating a line for my horizon. Okay, so it's kind of going to be at maybe a little lower than the third mark, not exactly at the third, but a little under the line where I said was going to be our third. And what I'm doing is somewhere here is going to be that big rock, okay, on the third and third. That's the plan. Okay, so I want some sky to show through. I don't want to go all the way up. So maybe the peak of this rock comes somewhere here. And it's kind of closer to us. So it's not on the horizon line, as you can see. So it comes a little below the third line. Okay, the line at the third. And I am just having fun with the sketch. Everything can be changed as I go. So nothing is written in stone. More important part is to have fun. So okay, now I'm kind of marking down where my rocks are going to be because the rock in the actual picture is not exactly at the third. It's kind of a little to the right of the third. I'm going to have to decide what I want to include that's on the left of it. Okay, but okay, so there is this big line of rocks at the back. All right, so that rock is kind of where our foundation of the painting. That's where the eye wants to go, ideally. That's what we're gonna plan for. Okay, so I'm using a red pencil. You could use any color you want for the initial sketch, really.
So Mandar, what are you sketching with?
I am using with a Prismacolor pencil.
Prismacolor
It's like a
pencil.
soft pastel pencil.
Okay.
But I could easily be using just a regular pastel. Okay, now, so that's my let me just try and move this rock a little closer so I can have the third on this side entirely for the water. That's where the sun is set. So I'm gonna erase this part really. That's not important for me. And then we're gonna have kind of some streaks of light. And then we have dramatic skies over the rocks. Ooh, that's fun. You don't want to paint kind of flat looking sky. You want some drama. Okay. And then you can put as many rocks as few as you like. Okay, so I don't want too many rocks in the middle, but it's kind of like, I see that there is a splash of water here. Yeah. And there is this nice wave coming. Yeah. There is a lot of surf now here, this part. There's a lot of surf. Trying to get the edge of this wave here. And this is, there's a lot of surf here, right? And then we have some wet. So let's see. And then we have this wet patch. It's wet sand. Okay. So this is the edge of the water. And then I got this wet sand here.
Do you ever shade it in, Mandar, to know where you're going to put your dark colors, or do you just do that later?
So I'm gonna now, after this, I'm gonna do the underpainting part where I'm gonna get the values, okay? And we're gonna think about the values that are important here. So what I'm gonna do in the next part, so that's my basic sketch. It may not be perfect, but it's okay to, and I will probably move the waves a little bit or adjust. But what I'm trying to get is the atmospheric effect. The idea for me is not to get caught up with all the details of the rocks and the exact line of the surf. But what I'm trying to do is get that fun feeling of being on the beach in the evening and witnessing something magnificent. Hopefully we can make that happen in our painting, right? That's the idea. So what I'm going to do now is put the pencil down and do an underpainting. Now, what I mean by underpainting is that we can now do something of a monochromatic underpainting. Now, it doesn't have to be monochromatic. It could be multiple colors. But today, I thought I would use something that's like a fun color, and we'll do this painting as a value study sort of in this color, which is more of a magenta. Let me see if I can bring it closer to the screen. Can you see this color?
Yes, very well.
It's a magenta color, and the vibration of the color creates a feeling in the art that you're doing. So I'm going to do a kind of an underpainting here. So you will see what I mean by that, and feel free to ask questions.
So, does it matter, Mandar, what color you started with for the sketch?
It doesn't matter really. I just had a red colored pencil that was sharpened already, so I used that. But
Okay.
It could have been anything, really. Okay. So I'm just gonna check. I'm on the, yeah. So let's see. Okay, so I'm using this. Now this looks like a crazy color to start with, but you want your underpainting to be wild and exciting, because then it shows through in your final painting. And you can always tone this down as you get exposed. So don't feel like this is something that you don't see this color in the painting and you might say, okay, well, the guy has lost his mind. So bear with me for a second. We're gonna do a fun underpainting. Okay, so here, so now there's a lot of surf here. So because I'm using only one colored pastel, what I'm doing is I'm adjusting the pressure that I'm using. So wherever I see darker areas, I would put more pressure so I get more pigment. And if it's a middle value, then I will put less pressure. So what do I mean by middle value? Something that's not too dark or too light is a middle value. So I can see that the surf, white surf here is a lighter value. So is the area of the sky where the sunset is happening. That's kind of very light. But the rest of the area in the sky is kind of middle value. This is a dark value. So I definitely got more pigment in the sky than I need. But we're gonna lift it. I'm gonna use water to fix it. And that time I'm gonna adjust the values even more. Okay.
So when you get a second, can you tell us a little more about the different kinds of pastels?
Yeah, so today I'm using soft pastel, but there are two types of pastels. You got oil pastels and you have soft pastels. And oil pastels are kind of wax based. They don't really mix very well. But soft pastel is just like pure pigment that's rolled up into sticks with a binder. So that's what I'm using. So the pigment is the same that goes into your watercolors or your acrylic, but pastel as a medium is a very vibrant medium, and it's a great medium to explore. Even if you think that maybe you're a watercolorist or you think you're an acrylic painter or oil painter, it always helps to change the medium, because then you learn so much more about the color. So when I started, I used to use acrylic back in probably 15 years back when I was in New York. I was just doing it as a hobby. I was using acrylic, but I really started using pastels probably 5 years back. And I enjoyed pastels so much that it changed my acrylic. And I kept working on my acrylic, and my acrylic changed my pastel. So you tend to, what happens is just the fact that you're doing something different, creativity works through random ways, and it kind of makes connections in our brain that you kind of are not aware of. We can't plan them. So coming back to the question about pastels, right? So there are different kinds of pastels in soft pastels. There are hard pastels, there are soft pastels, something that's in between. And it's really, no pastel is, better than the other. They're all different types of pastels. And you start somewhere, and as you start using them, you learn more about them. So it's nothing nothing too complicated. Okay, so now this is our kind of like the place where I would like to start using some water. Okay, so I'm gonna just use brush. So if you love painting with a brush, this is the time when you're gonna really have fun, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna use the brush and spread this pigment on the piece of paper. So now look, I got, as you can see, the water, because I have water on my brush, it's interacting with the pigment. Now, if I feel like maybe I went too dark in the sky, what I do is I kind of wipe some of that pigment with the wet brush. So that way now I adjusted the value, because I felt, okay, maybe did I go too dark in the sky?
So what kind of brush are you using and what size is it, Mandar?
So it's about like an inch long. It's a flat brush. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I get a faster coverage, right? A bigger brush. I don't want to use something that's too small, like I'm doing, surgery. I need something more, something where I could be more carefree and cover a bigger area.
Could you have used a
Look,
watercolor mandar for the undercoat instead of just blending the colors?
absolutely, that's a great question. Yeah, you could use any kind of, except for oil paint, you could use acrylic, you could use watercolors, and of course pastel. So you could use, sometimes when I'm working on something, I feel like, oh, do I have that particular shade or color? If I don't, I say, okay, well, I have it in acrylic, so why not try that? And sometimes when I'm working on big pieces, I like to use acrylic because that way, okay, so I need to keep this area a little light, right? So I needed to wipe that out. Okay, this too. Now, we need to strive for the atmospheric effect, which basically means that, you know, things that are further away would look lighter than things that are close by. So there's going to be a little bit of lighter value, bluer sometimes when during the daytime, but maybe not so in at the sunset time, but still lighter. Right? So as you can see, when I'm moving the water, it kind of softening what I was doing, right?
If you had been using acrylic mandar, would it affect the sanded surface at all?
No, I think that's again another great question.
Yeah, Chris is asking a lot of good questions tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So the paper that you use for soft pastels is very important. You need to have good paper, and there are many different choices in the market. However, UArt 400, which I'm using, works really well because it can take water like I'm using right now, and it doesn't buckle.
So it has 400 grit, is that what you're saying?
400 is the, yes, 400 is the grade, which kind of basically talks about how much tooth do you have on the paper. So if you have, if you go with a 400, that means it's middle, the grit is not too coarse and it's not too soft. It's kind of middle of the way.
So
But
it's
if you
like
go with
regular
some,
sandpaper that goes from like 80 to 1000 or something.
yeah, so the lower the number, the harder the rougher the paper. Okay, so they have UArt 240, they have UArt 500, I believe, and they also have UArt 600. So the 600 is more softer.
That'd be finer, right?
Finer, yeah, softer, finer. And so what I'm using is kind of in the middle. And the question was, can acrylic damage the paper? And the answer is really not, as long as you're not really using like impasto techniques and thick acrylic that is just takes away the grit of the paper. But
So
as a
I think
paper,
Margaret was asking if you have any problems with it filling the sanded surface.
no, I think it can take multiple layers, really. Many layers of pastel. It's really, that's what makes it a good paper. So you want a good paper. If you don't have a good paper, I've seen people using different papers in my workshop. And sometimes what happens is when you do the underpainting process, they find that the paper has buckled a little bit. And that can, damage the output. So you want a good paper, something that can handle water. Some of them can handle, others can't. So, okay, so there we are. Now you could also, if you are into effects, you could use your brush and kind of create crazy marks. It's all, everything is allowed at this stage.
Yeah, that's
So
my favorite technique.
that's right. So you go crazy at this stage and have some fun marks. Because the idea is not to make an exact copy of the painting. When I'm looking at our exact copy of the picture, when I'm looking at any picture, I'm actually thinking of it more as an inspiration to then take off to wherever you want to go or wherever the painting really takes you. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, in the interest of time, dry this with a hair dryer. So I'm going to mute my lines so you don't have to hear the jarring sound. Okay, hopefully that you guys could see what I was doing. So basically dried it. It takes just a minute or two to dry. And now we can start with the next step of the painting, which is where we're going to use local colors, as in the colors that you actually see in the picture. And then what the underpainting does is that it brings all these colors together in a harmony. And also the color that you choose gives the vibration of the color that you used in the underpainting. So you don't want to entirely get rid of your underpainting. It's okay if you do that, but it's okay to leave some parts of it showing through, and kind of exploring the dynamics between the underpainting and what you put on top of it. And the best part is because there is some color or some pigment on your surface, it's not a big fight to start working on it. You don't have to go crazy covering each and every square inch of the paper. You can focus on the big things. So that said, let's begin with the local colors. Now this is really probably, you can say the sketching was step 1, underpainting was step 2. So in sketching we saw what should be the composition, how should we move our big things, or the focal area? How do we think about the focal area? Where should it go? That thinking happened during the sketching part. In the second part, where we were doing the underpainting, the thinking was more about how do I get a fun vibration, wild, abstract colors, abstract painting underneath the final painting, and how do we think about the values? And now we kind of go into the third phase, using actual colors, the local colors that you see. And now we're going to think about contrast, thinking about values also, but also temperature. What is warm and what is cool? So, okay, let's start somewhere, right? So
Before you start with that, Mandar, can you let us know, do you use like a pinkish color with sunsets, and you'd use like a yellowish during the day, or are there any decisions that help you decide what undercolor to put depending on the scene?
No, I think that's again another great question. Underpainting is such a wild thing that it doesn't follow any rules as such. Obviously, if I needed very bright afternoon scene, I would want to have a yellower kind of a underpainting, or maybe more warmer color. In the evening, probably I use this one. I think it's got a fun vibration, but it's more about trial and error. You could use something that's purple instead of magenta, or try maroon or dark reds and try that, and it could work too. So it's more about trial and error. And sometimes you see, oh wow, that worked really well. There's so much about color is really experimental. That's why the field is so exciting, that you can never know everything. And that's the fun of it, really. To be okay with not knowing everything and jumping into the painting and exploring what happens. Because if you knew everything, it will be really boring. So trying to keep my approach very loose and trying to avoid being rigid. So breaking the line, being a little abstract. So I got a little darker value because naturally the magenta that I had was not very dark. And as you can see in the picture itself, the rock, the big rock, is kind of dark. I mean, I don't want it as dark as I see here, but I want to start somewhere.
Mandar, would you ever use like a golden yellow under a painting for a sunset?
I think you could. You totally could. So I kind of laid down some darker values, right? Some of the darker values that I had lost, right? Now I'm gonna switch and get some blues, some light blues. And look how I'm not using the point of the pastel. I'm using the side of the pastel. So I got this, I'm trying to use the whole side of the pastel. So kind of painting with a flat brush if you're doing painting with acrylics, for example. So what that does, I'm glazing, so I'm just gently rubbing the pastel on top of the previous layer. Okay, I'm not blending colors yet. Okay, so now I did the same thing here, where I had this other rock. So I had a darker value, then I went and with a lighter value, and that's the fun of it, really. So all these rocks and hilly areas, kind of far away, right? So I have a little bit of blue in it would help. So got some blue down there, yeah.
So for the initial layer, do you ever use hard pastels? Do you ever mix hard pastels with soft ones?
So normally a lot of people like to use hard pastels in initial stages, and then they go to soft pastels when they want to do the highlights, the last phase. So right now I'm using New Pastel, which is NU Pastel. It's a brand by Prismacolor, and they're kind of a little hard. And I like them a little hard. I don't like them too soft because I don't want them to crumble too much. So now look, what I'm doing is I am going over the magenta. I'm not trying to erase it entirely, am I? So I use some blue, and I'm now going with a little bit of a warmer blue. It's more of a greenish hue. So I kind of laying down ocean water has a lot of green in it, right? Now, if you look at the picture, it's kind of deceiving. It doesn't show you all the colors, and you will have the tendency to paint it flat without much color. But really, if you were on the beach, you would see all these colors. So go for color. Don't Don't hold back. Have fun with color. Push the color. As long as it all comes together, it's great. So now I'm going to go with a little bit of it because it's an evening kind of a time, a little overcast kind of a weather. I'm getting something that's more of a dull purple. Can you see this? More of a lavender,
Yes.
light lavender. So I'm kind of going with that. Going nice and slow, not rushing the process, because you want to observe and see what's happening. There are any fun effects happening in the sky. I don't want to lose them. If I have a goal in mind, I can perhaps lose it. So I want to see where it's going, and I want to be responding to what's happening on my painting. I might just come across a fun effect that I would normally not notice if I'm not paying. If I'm living in my mind, I will miss it. So I have to be on the easel. I cannot live inside my head. So I have to get out and be present at where I'm working, because that's when I'm gonna see the effects and I'm not gonna miss them. So that's my plan. I see that in the lower part of the sky, it's more of a darker value, right? So I don't want to miss that. I see there's a streak of light, right, somewhere here.
So you don't lift. There's no lifting. You just put a different color on top.
Yeah. So I'm kind of building this up without worrying too much about. Now, I went a little on the red side because I wanted to increase the color contrast, right? How are you guys doing so far? Are you having fun?
They have to figure out how to do the thumbs up on the chat.
It's kind of going over the rocks too when I'm working on the sky, because it's all part of the whole thing. Everything is part of everything, and nothing is standing on its own. All colors are reflecting off of each other. So,
did you study with anyone specifically, Mandar, when you first learned pastels?
sorry, say it again, please.
Did you study with an artist when you first started doing pastels?
Not really, but I did watch, I did go to a lot of museums, and I watched, paintings up close, and I followed people on YouTube and Instagram, and I practiced, and a lot of self-learning through experience. Okay, I think we need a little bit of a different color introduced into the painting. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a orange, light orange value, because I see that at the back of this rock, there is some light that's coming through. Basically the sunlight, sunset light basically, really. There is a little bit of warm color now being introduced, right?
So this demonstration is being recorded. Margaret's recording it, and it will be put up on our website for those folks that weren't able to join us tonight, and they will be able to watch it.
That's great.
We're making them available free to people. But of course, we always welcome donations. You can go to frankbettecenter.org, and we appreciate donations. Of course, that's what helps us do these kinds of things and keep people connected. And it's looking like we're going to be doing this for another year or so at least before we all get a vaccine that works. So we appreciate all the help you can give us. It's about 6:50, Mandar. I didn't know when you wanted to take a break, whether you wanted to wait until 7 or whenever. So just let me know. Because usually we take a 10-minute bio break, and then people can ask more questions, and then we can start the auction.
Yes, sure. I think we started at what, 7:05?
Yes.
Right? So how about we 6:05 we started, right? So let's stop at 7:05. What do you say?
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so that's where we are right now. Okay, so the bottom of this big rock needs a little darker value, right? And so do these rocks.
So a few people joined us later. So if you want to quickly tell us your steps again.
So today I'm doing a demonstration in soft pastels, guys. And the way I started was with a simple sketch using a soft pastel pencil. You could have easily used a soft pastel instead of soft pastel pencil. And then I did an underpainting in a vibrant magenta color. And now in this phase, I'm building colors, local colors, so I can have some fun effects because of the interaction between the underpainting and the local colors that are in the painting. And this is a scene from Rodeo Beach, San Francisco. So hopefully you can relate to it if you've been there. Okay, now I think I'm gonna introduce a little green color, a little bit of green color for the water. Even though there is a lot of sunset colors in the water, it needs a little change of gears with some greenery because
So if everyone hasn't muted, you may want to do that, please.
Okay, so now let's see, let's get some lighter value, sort of a and see where our edge is going to be. A lot of surf in the water, right? And there is this wet
It's
sand.
coming from you, Mandar, correct?
Okay, I'm going to turn it down. Is that? Let me turn it down a little bit.
No, it's okay. I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure what it was.
I have put some background music, but I turned it down. So the sky is kind of being reflected on the wet part of this beach, wet sand. And we also have this reflection, a little pale reflection of this rock in the water. Oops. Okay. So I am introducing some lighter colors so I can get this fun surf. Also, I see some surf here. Now I'm gonna exaggerate a little bit of this surf. As you can see, I'm being very loose in my approach, not trying to work on everything that I see. There is a million lines there on the actual picture. I'm not striving to capture all those little details, but going with the flow, really. Seems like a lot of lines, but I'm not trying to blend them or anything yet. Going wild, staying crazy.
Are there certain times in a painting when you use the water to blend, or is it just more at the beginning like you did with this one?
Yeah, I think I would do it more at the beginning. I mean, there is no such rule that you have to only do it. I could totally use the brush, and I felt like maybe I wanted to change certain parts of the painting. I could totally do it. But what could happen with water at this point is that I could have mixing of colors, and which can possibly create a lot of dirty color, and that can spoil the mood of the painting. So I have to be careful. But if I want to lift color, what I can do is I can just get a dry brush. For example, this is the dry brush, bristle brush, and I could come and I could just lift the color. Yeah, you
Oh,
could totally do that. You don't need to use water to wipe it, but keep it. Okay, now let's see. We need the light is coming from the right. Sun is in the sky. So this needs to be some warm colors. So I'm kind of exaggerating the effect a little bit, right? Because I'm having fun with color.
Mandar, Mandar, was the white oil pastel or a soft pastel?
Hi, Marilyn. It was, everything is soft pastels here
Oh, thank
today.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. Thank you everyone for being here today. You could be doing a lot of different things, but you showed up for art, and that really means a lot to me personally, and I'm sure Frank Bette likes the engagement from people like you. Keeping it fun, okay, that's the most important part. Sometimes you feel like, okay, frustrated, and what you do is you just take a break, have a cup of coffee, and come back to it. So don't overwork yourself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and blend in a little bit of some colors here, okay? Some blending. I'm going to just, not too much blending. I don't like a whole lot of blending in my paintings, but some amount of blending. So what I'm using is a paper stump. Okay, you can find it in any art shop. You don't really need this. This is optional. You can use the side of your finger like this, and that works too. But since I like to shop art supplies, I have collected this kind of stuff, which is totally optional. So now what I'm doing is I'm using the side of this paper stump in a way that looks like just like I would use the side of my finger. And what happens is that I pretty much get the same effects. And sometimes when I'm painting a whole lot, like if I'm painting in the plein air paint out and I'm painting 2-3 paintings every day, I have had, I have bruised my fingers because I kind of didn't realize how much blending I did all day. And I have bruised my finger. So this is a safer option if you care for your skin, especially.
you wipe the paper stump between blends?
Say it again, please.
You wipe off the stump between the blending? Do you wipe it off?
That's ideally, most sane people would do that. I forget to do it. So you should ideally, but it doesn't really.
I think we've lost your photo. We've lost your picture, Mandar.
Am I back?
Yes, now
Am
you're
I
back.
Okay, sorry about that.
And another question was you tend to work upright. Is there a reason for that?
I like to walk back and forth so I can get a longer perspective, from a distance, and I kind of like that. I think it's more of an active position for me to be standing and doing. But I have painted sitting down too, so it's not like I haven't done that. But I tend to do the demonstrations for my online weekly workshops. I tend to stand up. So on Thursdays, every Thursday I do online demonstration and an online class. So you're more than welcome to join me next time. And check out my website also. It's mandarfineart.com. And the email is mandarfineart@gmail.com. So Okay, so now what I'm doing is when I'm using the paper stump, right, I'm getting these effects, but it's like mark making. And it's really exciting stuff. No painting is the same when you're, I mean, no matter how hard you will try, every painting is different. And the kinds of effects that you will come across in the painting are so amazing. They're inspiring, and there's always something new. So that really inspires me. It's something, always something new. So you never get tired of creating something different. And there is a whole lot of faith involved in painting, not religious faith, I mean, but the faith that, okay, I'm just going to do it and not worry about the outcome, but just have fun with it and have faith that I, or whatever you want to call the universe, will help me. A lot of art or this kind of experimentation is that, right? You don't know what the outcome is going to be. But when you're least controlling is when you will come across something real fun. So,
Do you use the same technique, Mandar, with the stump every time, or do you sort of go in different directions or make it random?
so I'm trying to move the stump to make some streaks in the sky. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. If I do this parallel to the horizon, that's definitely not going to be exciting, right? Because that's kind of obvious. If I do it horizontally, it's just not going to look good. So anything other than that is fair game. Fair game as in something that will work, and you see which one works better than the other, right? So it's totally, you make some marks like this, some marks like this. If you've seen Van Gogh, right? Look at this, the strokes and the broad brush strokes and how he creates a tapestry of color and marks. It's just simply amazing. So, and we just have to experiment and not, not assume that, we may be learning, but it just letting loose and having fun is all
Well,
you
it
need
looks
to
like
do.
it makes it look like streets of light with the sunshine showing through the background, through the clouds. So the vertical ones are very effective.
Yeah. And also by having this direction, right, a little bit, what it does, it kind of creates an interaction between this rock and the sky. So it feels like they are talking to each other. They are not separate. You see, it kind of creates an interaction between the various shapes. Now at this point, you kind of not really following the picture as closely because you're busy with what's happening here. You don't want to miss this. This is precious. So you are focusing here. And all the different colors that we put on the paper have created some kind of a fun interaction, right? That wasn't there initially when you looked at the picture. And you say, wow, okay, this is a different space and we are exploring something different. I think that's my way of looking at it.
It's about 7:05. So
Okay.
we'll take a 10-minute break be okay, Mandar? Will that give you enough time to finish?
Yeah, I think so. So we'll come back at 7:15.
Yes, that sounds good for a bio break, and then we'll start the auction.
Very good. Thank you. I'll mute my line then.
Yeah, you can, or you don't have to. You can leave it on if you want.
Mandar?
He muted himself, I think.
Okay, too late. Hi, Mandar, can you hear me?
No, I think he's
Yes, who is this?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, it's Sue. I'm sorry, I don't have my picture up, but Where did you say we could see the original photograph? On my screen, it looks like it's black and white almost.
Yeah, I know, but I know I tried to send it on the chat, but it looks like
Oh, okay.
It is on
some
the
people are
chat.
not able to download it. So if you can't download it, it's okay. What I did was I put the picture in
Yeah.
front of the, okay, let me bring this closer.
Yeah, it's also on the chat. You can download it onto your computer and then open it. That's a good view of it, Mandar. You can see all the different colors now.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
So
better.
so if you can download it, you will see the picture. Now the colors in the picture are still a little muted, and I pushed the color because I was going for some dramatic effect. But you will see the actual picture, you know, and what I see, the picture, the way it looks on the laptop, is pretty much just blue and black.
Right. Okay. Agree. Okay.
Thanks for the question. So demonstrating what I do. So thanks for being here. I hope so far it's been fun. Please ask questions. We kind of at the kind of last stage of the painting, and there is still some work to be done, but don't be shy, ask questions as we go. So it's fun and interactive for you, and you might have some questions along the way, and I would be happy to answer them. So don't be shy. Okay, so let's come back to where we stopped. We started with a sketch, we did an underpainting, and then we started building local colors. And now we are trying to kind of create more of an interesting painting here. So we're kind of responding to what's happening on the screen and not looking at the original picture too much. Okay, so and then I'm gonna use this brush to lift some of the pigment that if I went over and I applied too much pigment and I want to get rid of it, I could use a bristle brush to take some off. So I'm gonna do some of that here and there just to keep it loose in the approach so it doesn't look overworked. It stays a little fun in its approach. I want to keep it fun. So that's really the idea. Okay, so I'm going to the sunset, and I want to warm it a little bit. Little warming of that. I feel like the light is coming from the left. It's gonna hit these rocks, and they're far away, but you would be able to see some highlights. I'm not using too much pressure. I'm just using a little bit of pressure because I don't want to lose the atmospheric perspective of things being further away. So I'm using this light orange color to build some highlights on the rock. So you can see that the sunlight is hitting the rock and the drama is on, and the biggest show on earth you're watching. There's some spots where I have the magenta underpainting showing through, especially on the edges. Just trying to get that out of the way. Gently placing on top of where we are, using the paper stump to create marks. Like I said, I could totally use the side of my finger, but this is less taxing for the.
Now, did you put some green in there? All of a sudden the green is showing at the bottom.
Here?
No, to the
Here.
left, right there.
Yeah, there was some green, but I had not mixed it, or I had not, I didn't blend it. So now with the paper stump, it's kind of coming through.
Yes, I really like the green, and I like the green in the water. It just seems to fit the color somehow.
Yeah, that's right. I think it kind of brings them all together. So now here, where we have
So I can see the image that you downloaded, Mandar, but a number of viewers cannot see it at the top of the chat page.
yeah.
What we can do is download.
But can you see it on my screen, by the way? Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah, but they can't download the image. So we will post it. We'll post it on the Frank Bette website.
Now you can totally, you have it in your mailbox, right? So I sent you on your email.
Yes, I
So
have it
if-
in my email.
So if somebody wants it right now,
Yeah, I can forward it to you. I'm at rosharper@gmail.
slowly building this. Now the underside or the belly of the wave tends to be a little dark, and the top seems to catch the light. keeping it loose. I'm trying to. So you're going to have some light orange on top of the waves because that's the sunlight.
Okay, it's almost 7:30. The bidding has started at 150. So if you want to start there or preferably go higher, send a message to the host, please. That's me. So Mandar, is it possible to zoom in a little?
Yeah.
Because
Let me bring my
the
my
video is a
cam, my
little-
eye.
Yeah, the painting's a little blurry.
Really? Hold on. Let me see if I can wipe the lens. Maybe, let me move it closer. Let's see if it helps you.
Yes, that's pretty close, but yes, that helps. You can back it out a little bit. Much better. Yeah, better. That's fine, right there. The further
Okay.
you back it out, the more blurry it becomes.
Okay, so is this a good spot?
A little closer.
How's that?
I think that's better.
Okay.
Now we've lost your picture. There we go, you're back.
Am I back?
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. So every few minutes, I want to go back and kind of look at it from afar to see how I'm gonna.
I'm watching this on my computer, and when I lean back, the painting becomes very vibrant. Interesting effect.
Thank you.
Those of you who want the original image, you can send me your email address on chat and I will forward it to you.
So using the light orange to create highlights for our big rock.
You may want to come in just a little bit more, Mandar, if you can. Move your zoom a little closer and just a little bit.
I can't really zoom, but I'm trying to move the iPad closer.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Is that better?
That's better. There are a few folks that have joined us and wanted to let you know that this demo will be posted on the Frank Bette website. We have our own, Margaret got us our own YouTube channel. So it will be posted there for everyone to see who missed the first part of this. This painting is being auctioned. The bidding started at $150. It is currently at $250. So the place where the demonstration will not be on our Facebook page. It'll be on the frankbettecenter.org website. Under, I think we've got it, I'll have to ask Chris. Is it under?
Well, you also have it on your YouTube, by the way, Ross.
It'll be on the
saw that the
YouTube, but the link will be on the website.
Okay.
Yeah, not on Facebook, I don't believe, but on the website, frankbettecenter.org. And that's where the auction donation will be made as well.
Thank you for participating in the auction, guys.
So the location again came up. Mandar, you want to tell us where this is on the coast?
This is Rodeo Beach.
Rodeo Beach.
I hope I'm saying it correctly.
Is that off San Francisco or?
Yes.
So the original image will be, for now, posted under special events. If you look on YouTube for Frank Bette Center for the Arts, it'll be there in a couple of days. The video is being recorded, and then once it's edited, Margaret's going to post it. And one of our viewers reminded it's Rodeo Beach.
It's Rodeo Beach. That's why I asked Alexa, but Alexa couldn't confirm my pronunciation. I apologize, guys. It's Rodeo Beach. Anybody has any questions on the process? If you missed it.
Yeah, you might give us a brief summary of your 4 steps.
So we started, well, we are working on soft pastels today in this demonstration, first of all. And we started with a sketch in pencil, soft pastel pencil I used, but I could have used just the regular pastel. Then I did something called as an underpainting, which was done in fun magenta color to create a very vibrating effect and fun effect in our latter stages. And then in the third stage, I started using the local colors as in the colors that you see actually in the picture, in the photograph. And then the most important thing that we kept focusing on was to have fun in the process, and started to more focus on what's happening on the painting and started responding to that more than what was
That's my
happening
dog.
in the actual picture.
So Mandar, when you're finished, do you use a fixative at the end and then frame the painting?
Because we use the UART paper, which really does wonders and holds the pigment very well, I wouldn't be using fixative, because what happens with the fixative is also it takes away some of the luster, and you kind of lose some of the highlights. So I won't be using fixative. However, what we will do is we will frame it in a shadow box. Of course, you are more than welcome to do an expensive frame. All right. If you like it, if you buy it. We will use a simple frame that generally goes well with most decors.
All the group up in Alameda is doing their demo tonight. Whenever I get an invite to one, I try to watch it for a while.
Yeah, all right, let me pee and then I'll come and we'll.
So if you frame it in a kind of a shadow box, it kind of protects the painting.
So you don't use glass or anything over that?
We'll put glass in the shadow box.
In the shadow
right?
box.
The shadow box will have a glass.
What did you paint on, Mandar? Is it canvas board or canvas or?
It's just a UART. It's a UART paper.
UART paper. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mandar, one questioner is saying that sold a pastel recently and was afraid to send it without a fixative. That it doesn't hurt the painting, right? It just, you said it reduces the luster a little bit?
Yes. And I think if you paint it on a UART piece of paper and frame it in glass, you don't need a fixative. Because the quality of the paper you use holds the pigment.
So one of our artists who works with pastel commented that a fixative will obliterate a white color.
Yes, the lighter values it kind of becomes darker. It's okay to use it and, during the process, but because I'm using this paper that I have come to trust, I feel like it's not necessary.
If you have to ship it like to the East Coast, how would you manage that if you can't frame it?
You can put it in something called as a glassine paper and kind of sandwich it between mat boards and tape it, and it can go. I've sold paintings where I had to ship it and there was absolutely no problem.
And what was that paper again called?
Glassine.
Glossing paper.
Like
Glassine.
glassine.
Glassine, I'm sorry.
Glassine.
Thank you.
Mandar, I should have talked to you before I shipped that pastel. I didn't realize that the glassine would protect it well enough.
Who is this?
It's Chris.
Oh. When did you ship something?
Yes, the pastel that I did in your class a few months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my friend bought it, and she lives on the East Coast, so I had to ship it along with some other painted watercolors.
Yeah.
And so I was concerned about it, so I sprayed it with fixative. But I guess I should have talked to you before I did that.
Yeah, I have learned it the hard way myself. Is that when I was happy with the painting and everything and I sprayed it later, it kind of just destroyed the effects that were very important for the painting.
I hope it's still okay.
Okay, it's almost 10 of 8, and
Yeah,
the bid is
I feel good about where I am right now.
okay, good, because we can stop anytime and you can take more questions, or let me close off the bid in about 5 minutes, and then that gives anyone else a last chance here.